Chris Cuomo here. Welcome to NewsNation, where right and left come to be reasonable. And that isn't just some tagline, okay? It's a requirement. It's what NewsNation is built to do, because I don't think there's anything we need more. Our political parties, because we're in this binary battle to the bottom, right? All binary can be is zero sum. If it's you versus somebody else, how do you win? By making them lose. So we've just lost perspective on right and wrong in favor of seeking any kind of advantage between right and left. And that's the truth. And you have to realize it and fight against it. So my role is to usually call out the game that they play. But when it's about undermining confidence in our ability to hold free and fair elections, and our elected leaders wanting to duck that conversation, the job is to not just expose that, but extirpate it from the record of what is reality, literally pull it out, show it to you, and throw it away. And that's what this BS about Tina Peters being a political prisoner is. BS. Now you're thinking, who's Tina Peters? Fair. She's Trump's latest ploy in an attack on law and order. She was the former county clerk for Mesa County, Colorado. You remember her. She became a prominent figure in the Stop the Steal movement. She was one of the people claiming that Dominion's voting machines were compromised after the 2020 election. Remember? The heart of her allegation was that there were false databases made that allowed for fake voting. She was dead wrong. And she broke the law to make her point. She was investigated, indicted, prosecuted, and found guilty. But in defiance of all the known facts, the president posted, the radical left Colorado Attorney General ignored violent crimes like rape and murder in his state, but jailed Tina Peters. This is a communist persecution by the radical left Democrats to cover up their election crimes and misdeeds in 2020. I'm hereby directing the DOJ to take all necessary action to help secure the release of this hostage. Wow. Wow. What a waste of the president's time. Just when he is seized on an issue that actually accesses all of us and focuses on the majority, reestablishing where we find our commercial opportunities, how we balance those who take and give to our economy, how the corporate class must respect and regard the working class. He's got his finger. He's right there with it. Now, he may not be handling it the right way with all these tariffs, but he's right there on an issue that can actually unite. And he's going back to this bullshit, blaming the attorney general. Why? Because he's a Democrat. But the case wasn't brought by the AG. Google it. Just Google it. The case was brought by the Mesa County District Attorney. Yeah, the AG was coordinating, but that happens all the time. It was a Republican who brought this case. Why? Because it was a no-brainer. I wonder why Trump doesn't mention that to you. You know why? Because the DA is one of his own, and he wants to make this about the other party coming after him, and Trump is willing to go there no matter what it takes. Here's the truth, okay? Peters falsely believed Dominion was manipulating election results, so she brought in an outside actor to prove it. The Republican district attorney looked at all the allegations that Peters made. Now, at the time, I was like, why are you looking into these allegations? They're obviously BS. But he did, with his team, exhaustively, all of them. And I was suspicious that he wanted them to be true, frankly. But all of the allegations were either explained away as harmless by the Republican or outright disproven in every single instance. Check it yourself. Now, if the president or anybody wanted to make the case that Peters was punished too severely, I'm here for it. Even after reading the judge's rationale for how egregious her behavior was, including how she made public very sensitive passwords that ironically could have allowed people to manipulate the balloting systems for the state, because she leaked these false findings to the MyPillow guy, and then he went public with it. So that's why the judge hammered her 9 years. Peters broke the law several times, but she got a long sentence. It put her on par with the dangerous felonies that Trump is talking about. See, there's always a thread, okay, in there. It's not like he's completely out of left field. He just mangles the bases, okay? Yeah, manslaughter and severe assault are part of this conversation because she got a sentence that is on par with those kinds of crimes, and you could argue it's too extreme. I could make that case, but that's not the case the president's making. He's playing at the BS notion that she's a political prisoner because he wants you to hate the other side. He wants you to hate the institutions of our government. Why? I don't know, but he clearly does. Peters absolutely committed the crimes she was charged with, period. But more importantly, the president is targeting this case. Why? Because he likes election deniers, okay? And that's why those who want to please Trump traffic in this tripe, and they should know better. And here's a clue to their willful ignorance, meaning they know that this is BS, but they traffic in it anyway for profit. This documentary that was written by a legit, okay, or one-time legit CBS correspondent, Lara Logan. Now, it was funded, this documentary, by the My Pillow guy. I know it's a red flag, but what's meaningful about it is that you should watch it. I did. It's an echo of the allegations that Peters makes, but it has none of the rigor that was applied by the Republican DA. How so? Logan never shows security cam footage that proves Peters' own employee is the one who accidentally created the databases. How do you accidentally create a database? Go Google it and read the investigation and you'll see. You'll hear the testimony from the person. And it wasn't some bad actor who did it. It was one of her own. Logan never interviewed the Republican district attorney who was tasked with investigating Peters' claims. Logan didn't even speak to one person who offered a counterpoint of view to anything that was alleged. So we know what it was. And we know that this isn't the first time the president has played at this, putting up people to advance a poison cause. Destroyed several members of his legal team in their careers, including his longtime friend and advisor, Rudy Giuliani. Now, why do I bring this up? If he's doing something wrong, why don't I ignore it? Because sometimes what he is playing at has to be fought against, okay? Not just to shine a light on why the president is wrong, but why he's doing other things, like pushing Ed Martin as the U.S. Attorney for D.C., okay? Why? Because he's another stop the steal supplicant. So Trump and co. are setting him up like Peters. Ed Martin is now also being tarred by the left for a righteous cause. All you need to know about Martin is that not only did he clearly politicize his office as an interim official with the DOJ, and he had this funky conflict where he was representing a guy as a defendant in Jan 6, then they put him in the DOJ, and he winds up signing off on removing the guy's case. There's no conflict there. I'm telling you, as a bad lawyer, okay, which was me, I would know that that's not something that you would do. But of course, he got away with it. Why? Because people only complain about lawfare when it's against them. When it works in their favor, they're fine with it, whether they're Democrats or Republicans. And Trump campaigned on it, and he's still letting his people do it. He also, Martin, clearly withheld facts from the vetting about his media appearances. Why? Well, did you know that he went on Russian propaganda TV like over 100 times? He did it for years, pushing Kremlin narratives. And did you know that he made appearances with white nationalists on their stupid podcasts? Why? Why go on Russian state TV over 150 times? Why would you not disclose that to Congress? Well, we know why you wouldn't disclose it, right? Why would you praise a neo-Nazi during his time defending January 6th defendants? Come on, this has got to matter to you. This has to be more important than siding with Trump about something that you know he's wrong about. He lost the election. You want to make the election system more secure? Great. You want to fight over voter ID and you think that's going to make it better? Great. Do it. But trafficking in this is part of what's killing us. All right? So I wanted to talk about it tonight and other things with a guy I really liked bringing on. Let me make sure his guy didn't text me with some kind of apology before I bash him. Nope. Good. Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana. I used to have him on. I like his folksiness. I like his hair. I like the way he discusses things and mocks certain things. Well, then he went kind of full MAGA. I don't know about that. I think that he makes a good case on a lot of things. And I think he has a real populist feel for himself. He hears that I'm talking about Peters. They pull him out. He doesn't even call me himself. He just bails, Mr. Man's man, Mr. I'm a straight shooter, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do. Then it comes time to speak truth to power, and he bails 5 minutes before the TV show, which is very poor form. I've been in this business a really long time. And nobody does that unless they're a coward. And now, look, you can go on Newsmax and you can go on Fox and you can badmouth me. I'm giving you an opportunity to come on here and have a conversation, all right? I'm not here to smash and bash. I lay out things as plainly as possible, all right? And if you believe that the election was stolen, fine, make your case. And then let's move on to why Ed Martin is a good choice. And then let's move on to what's going on with the budget and the other things that matter to the majority. But to bail, what a punk-ass move that is, to do something like that. And it is a great indication of where we are today, that these men and women are more afraid of getting caught saying something that will offend the president than any kind of duty, any kind of morality, any kind of philosophy, any kind of principle that they want you to believe they're about. They're about nothing but fealty. And yeah, it's not just one side, but I'm talking about one side right now. And if a lefty, if a Democrat bailed on me in the same way, I would bash them the same way, because they are part of the problem. And that's what we're doing at NewsNation. I don't give a damn who likes me and who doesn't. It makes booking a lot harder, but that's Dusty and the team's problem most of the time. I just get to complain about who we have on the show and who we don't. And we do very well despite me. But this you have to know about, all right? And I hope this clip gets out there and gets spread around. And I hope Kennedy has the dignity and the integrity to reach out to me to explain this. Tell me how I have it wrong. Because you bail on my show because you're too much of a coward to make a case, unless you're on Fox News getting some laugh track behind you when you're talking about these talking points. It's not what this country's supposed to be about. It's not what our confrontational process of politics is supposed to be about. It's not what we're supposed to be about. It's BS. And if we don't expose it, we don't condemn it, and we don't say we demand better, and we're going to go after the people who don't do it, it will never get anywhere but here. I have no problem with the President of the United States having any kind of opinion that he wants about what happened in the election. But when he weaponizes public officials, when he perverts and distorts facts because of some misplaced sense of personal favor, it's killing us, especially when he's so damn close to dealing with something that can redeem all of this toxicity that he created so much gratuitously. Finding a way to restore the majority to economic promise and viability in the new economy is the defining issue of this generation. Where are the jobs going to be for the next 10 years? Who's training for them? Where's the money coming from? How are we preparing people? How are we getting the people? What are the corporations going to do? Where are they going to find a balance between their interests and the interests of the people who make the money for them? That is a real issue that Trump is dancing around right now as a legitimate form of populism. Now, again, you can argue the tariffs aren't the way to do it, and he went too wrong, and it was ready, shoot, aim, and all that. Yes, fair criticism. And you saw more of it today with the Canadian PM. But that's Trump, and he won the election. And he won it in a real way, okay? And I'm not going to get away from a result, even if I don't like it, by saying it didn't happen. Because you got to deal in reality if you want to be a grown-up and you want to be part of a solution and not someone who just finds a way to exploit a problem. Look at the people who are echoing his BS about Peters. They are not to be trusted because either they're too stupid to know the facts or they are that poisonous that they're willing to ignore them to try to convince you to believe a lie. Kennedy not coming on the show tonight was a BS move. John Kennedy, not Bobby Kennedy Jr. Don't confuse them. And thankfully for Bobby, they're not related. This was an easy conversation to have. I'm not a gotcha guy, and he knows it. But he sends one of his people to bail out minutes before the show because it shows you what he's really afraid of. Losing any kind of shine from the golden throne that has become the presidency. And it's making us sick. Let's take a break, 4 minutes, 35 seconds. When we come back, what is the real deal about what's happening in the sky? I know everybody's in a panic about Newark. Again, this is political advantage. I will bring in somebody who will tell you how not new this problem is and how long Trump knew in his first administration and how the Democrats knew too and how they're all in cahoots ignoring problems because they would rather blame each other than fix. You want the truth? You'll get it right here on NewsNation next. So you've got reality and surreality, right? Reality is, on Monday, air traffic controllers in Philadelphia lost radar and radio communications, okay? No, wait, I thought it was Newark. Yeah, I know. The outfit, the ops center is in Philadelphia. It affected Newark Airport in New Jersey, okay? So you had planes in the airspace over Newark for up to 90 seconds with no contact because of what happened in Philadelphia. A little bit of this is that they're putting more blame on Newark. Why? It's a New York thing. It allows the Trump administration to point another finger at New York because he doesn't like New York and point at Biden and say he did this. Okay. Now, look, first, let's deal with what the problem is. And then there's plenty of blame to go around. That's just not going to get us to a better place unless you're in one of the two parties. So let's take a listen to archived audio from liveatc.net on the night of the incident so you can see what this was actually like.
We lost our radar and it's not working correctly. Radar service terminates and we don't have a radar, so I don't know where you are.
Okay, so it's literally like I'm describing it, all right? Now, they have redundancies. The redundancies didn't seem to work. Nothing bad happened, but it's another piece of proof that we don't seem to have our act together enough when it comes to controlling the airspace, all right? But here's what you have to know. This is not new, and it's not as simple as the Trump administration wants it to be. This problem existed on Trump's watch twice, now and the first time he was president. And I can prove it, all right? In 2019, okay, I did an interview with the president of the National Air Traffic Controllers Association. You think he knows something about this kind of issue? Listen to what he was saying then. Now, I look like a totally different person. That's what this job does to you, especially dealing with the Trump administrations and the Biden administration and all the craziness that we've had to accept as normal these days. But this problem is not new. And the staffing concerns and the equipment and the training and the balancing, none of it is new. It just hasn't been addressed. Will it be now? I don't know. 6 air traffic controllers are on traumatic leave. I love people online making fun of these people. Why do they have to? You be in a position where you could have hundreds, if not thousands of lives on your watch. You can't communicate for a minute and a half, which is like a lifetime for these men and women, and see how you would feel about it. Now, what's the result for the rest of us? Well, delays, right? Hundreds and hundreds of delays and cancellations at Newark, and it's going to ricochet around to regional airports. So what are we going to do about it? That's where the government comes in. Here is Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, at least with a take on what happened.
This is not a new problem. We've known this problem has existed. There's been multiple GAO reports over the last 4 years saying you have real problems with air traffic control and you should do something with it before it actually fails. The largest infrastructure package ever known to man, they spent, Joe Biden signed right here at this White House. And of the $5 billion that was spent or was given, only $1 billion was actually spent.
Well, talk to your Republican brothers and sisters about that. By the way, they wanted the infrastructure bill. They all complained about it, but they wanted the money to take back to their constituencies, right? and then they messed with the funding because you guys can't get your job straight. And Duffy was in Congress. So is he right? Yeah, it's not a new problem. But what did he do there? The last 4 years, that's the only time that this has been made mention of, the last 4 years during Biden. Not before that, right? You see what I'm saying? That's the game. So let's tell the truth. Former air traffic controller Todd Yeary joins me right now. Todd, thank God we didn't have to have a major disaster for you guys to plead the case for change. You guys have been schooling me on this for a decade. How not new is this, and why hasn't it changed?
Well, Chris, first, good to be with you, and you still look good even back in 2019, so let me put that on the record. Let's go back to 1981. August of 81, Ronald Reagan disrupts the air traffic control system by firing the entire controller workforce that had gone out on strike after he made a promise to support them in the 1980 election. The reason I know so much about it is my father was one of the PATCO controllers who was fired. I come from an air traffic control family. I was hired as one of the last cohorts, as part of the last cohorts, to backfill for that disruption in 1981, and that was in the late 80s. What you then had was a setup of persistent attrition, a number of retirements due to a mandatory retirement age of 56, but you're not creating enough of a training pipeline to be able to replace fully certified controllers with other fully certified controllers. And now add to it the need to keep up with the technology that was constantly advancing and the seeming inability for the government, the Congress, and whoever was sitting and occupying the Oval Office, not being able to be in sync to make sure that we were keeping pace with the modernization required to operate the most absolutely safe airspace system and most fundamentally essential airspace system to a global economy in the world. And so here's what you've got. You've got the accumulation of issues, an overstressed workforce, an overstressed supply system, an overstressed equipment reality, and not enough persistence to start moving through the process of upgrading these facilities and making sure that we keep the best air traffic control workforce in the world.
Todd, is there any reason to look at why this happened in terms of intentionality, to lose radar and voice comms and the redundancy system not firing? That's a lot to go wrong at once. Is that just about equipment and personnel, or might this have had an intentional aspect to it?
Don't know. Don't know enough to be able to say whether or not there could have been some form of sabotage. I've not heard that. But when I think about a 90-second disruption, by the time you have a loss of one and you start going through your checklist for the system to return, it's just enough time to say, yes, it seemed to be timely in terms of the response. 90 seconds could be very disruptive, but there would be a number of things that would be going on simultaneously. Sterilizing airspace, shutting down flights, making sure that the tower, which we hear Newark controllers advising departures that they might not be able to make contact with air traffic control, so they would rely on other procedures. Those things are moving simultaneously, but what it does say is we've got enough stressors on the system from a number of different points, and not just the mid-air collision at Reagan. We've got persistent issues that requires the full attention, not the politicking, but the principled response to making sure that the air traffic system is as reliable as we've come to know it to be.
What percentage of the problem is a term of DEI-motivated hiring and training in your estimation? Don't start laughing before I finish the question. That has been used as a boogeyman during the DCA incident. Now it's being used to explain why the pilot, the military pilot, may she rest in peace, made bad judgment calls, arguably, and that's why the FAA communication may have been off, and that's why this may have happened. What is your response to that notion?
Well, first of all, we still grieve those we lost in the mid-air collision at Reagan. We are still aware of the challenges that we've seen in other fatal incidents in Alaska and in Philadelphia after the takeoff just a few days after Reagan. But as you can tell by looking at me on camera, I'm not your average historical air traffic control guy. And I don't come from the average background of the makeup of the air traffic control workforce. And so when the president starts throwing around issues with DEI, it feels like a personal affront to me. as if those like me and others who look like me could not do the job. And it would cause one, and the reason I got into this conversation is to really challenge that head on, that you can't scapegoat the workforce when the supply system, the government that's necessary for making sure that the workforce has what it needs in terms of equipment and personnel is constantly failing. I think it is an affront to the integrity not only of the FAA and the air traffic control system, but to the people of America to keep coming up with these rather specious excuses for not doing what the government needs to do. And so if we can just stay focused on the challenges and seize the moment and the opportunities that are presented to us, I think we can look past the distraction of the noise that often comes from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and get back to fixing what's necessary to support the movement of people, goods, resources, and supporting the U.S. and global economy in a way that is responsive and responsible and not just reactive, as we've seen over many, many years, even before now.
So let's do this. I'm not Nostradamus, but with the size of this snot locker on my face, will call me Nostradamus. A month from now, the budgeting process will be in more full effect. You guys will be forgotten. If anything, you're going to get cut. Please come back, remind us, and say, hey, Cuomo said that they weren't going to deal with anything, and a month came by, and here, we're still in the same place. Nobody's going to fix it. Come back, and let's remind people that everything everybody's saying they care about right now, nothing's going to be done, because there's no advantage for one side over the other in it. Todd, you'll be welcome back to make that case. And thank you for being with us.
I'll be here, and you still look good, man.
Thank you. I need it. Get your glasses checked. 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Up next, President Trump told the new Canadian Prime Minister, anything you can make, we can make better. I got to tell you, I don't think it is worth our time to criticize the style of the American president. All right, that's the Canadian PM's problem, how to deal with Trump. Our problem is what is coming down the pike. Canada is giving us less goods, but they have upped the goods they are giving other countries. What does that mean? What should we worry about? Not Trump's style, but the substance of our existence. Two great economic minds, friends of mine. Next. There are plenty of places that will go to town on how our president was with the Canadian Prime Minister today. I don't think it really matters, frankly. What does matter is that the president has a working theory that the world needs us more than we need them, and they're going to have to come to us for deals or they're all going to suffer. Now, is that true for the majority in this country? And is that the message that the Treasury Secretary and the president's chief trade negotiator are going to give China later this week? Let me bring in two much better minds. Founder of the Forward Party, Mr. Math himself, Andrew Yang, and former financial journalist. Well, no, she's still a financial journalist. She's a businesswoman. She's amazing. She's my friend, Alexis Glick. Ali, it's great to have you. I'll call this segment Yin and Yang because you guys are coming at this from a little bit different perspectives on how worried we should be. So the Canadian situation, Alexis, is they have started sending us less because of the tariff situation, sending other countries more. We're hearing about allies meeting with each other and with China about different trade deals exclusive of the United States. At what level does this become a worry that the world will organize against us?
Frankly, Chris, right now it's to be expected, given all the rhetoric, both the rhetoric out of the White House and obviously where we stand in tariff negotiations. The biggest issue that we have right now is we're trying to do everything everywhere all at once. It's not that if you were to sit down, frankly, if you were to poll most leaders across the country in corporate America or otherwise, that we don't think some of our trade deals need work. The fact, though, is we're trying to do it all at the same time, and it's creating an enormous amount of uncertainty, which is truly creating in business what I would consider analysis paralysis. How do you know what to expect in a quarter's time? The most shocking thing that we have witnessed is the degree to which corporate America has suspended guidance on the back half of the year in terms of what their expectations are around earnings. The only time that we've seen this in my lifetime, frankly, was truly in COVID. You saw some of it in the financial crisis in 07, 08. But this is so unique to see economists pull back their estimates in rapid fire based on the situation with trade. And then companies just say, unless we have certainty and clarity, we have an inability to really operate and know where we're going.
Right, but we know why that is. They did what you did. And they picked up the phone and they got within 2 or 3 calls to people close to Trump, and they were told what they didn't want to hear. They didn't want to believe was true, which is there is no plan. I cannot tell you what's going to happen next. It's day by day. And big pockets don't like to hear that. My concern, though, Andrew, is the small pockets, the real engines of the American economy, the small businesses that can't just sit on the sidelines and be like, how are we going to invest our billions? You know, there are small businesses getting crushed by this because they're so dependent on China and other supply lines, and they can't get their goods. And the president is responsible for that, and he's killing the engine of America.
Yeah, Chris, I know tons of small business owners who voted for Trump who are firing people, who are scaling back, who are furious. I mean, I think one of them said it was liberation from my money day because all of a sudden he's having to put out fires. I'll tell you which way the corporate guidance is going. It's all heading south. I talked to CEOs who say that, look, it would take me 2 to 3 years to try and reshore manufacturing, and they can't give me confidence in what's going to happen 2 to 3 weeks from now. So instead of investing more domestically, people are disinvesting. There are companies that are literally relocating out of the United States. A lot of companies gathered orders up and tried to stock up on inventory, which is going to mean that the economic activity in the third quarter is going to look terrible by comparison. You're going to see a recession in the real economy hit about 4 weeks from now when shelves start emptying out and consumers go to stores and have less to buy.
Now, Alexis, help me understand this. I don't want to sound like a communist, okay? I have a 2-part question. Without me being accused of being a communist, okay, I love the idea that the president is playing with of rebalancing the benefits and burdens of who gets access to the American domestic market and what corporations have to give to get it and what form that takes. I like that. That's Trump's idea. We can argue about how he's executing the idea, but I like the idea, and he's not a communist. And the second part is, Andrew is right unless China folds first because they're feeling pain also. So what do you make of the target of wanting to kind of rebalance the equities? And 2, the specter that China may feel the pain just as much and want a deal. It's not just us.
Absolutely. Look, I mean, in corporate America, what we often call this is a kitchen sink. It's like you throw everything out in the first and second quarter. He's 100+ days in, and he's kitchen sinking the quarter. Now, we all agree he's trying to do far too much too quickly. However, these trade deals go back post-World War II. So, yes, do we need to renegotiate our trade deals? We absolutely do. And most leaders agree with that. The thing here is, if he gets a deal done with India and China, if you think about the Quad group, that's India, China, Australia, and the United States. It's really about protection of the pan-Indian Ocean, that whole area, right? It's both a safety play and it's an economic play. If they're able to negotiate those 2 deals, I actually think the market will respond very, very well. And you're already starting to see the strain in China. So I think what I would say to you, Chris, is I'm not nearly as pessimistic that this is a catastrophic event. I think we're already in a recession. A recession is defined as 2 consecutive quarters of contraction. You never know you're in it when you're actually in fact, living through it. I am concerned about small businesses, but I do think that in this next quarter, they're going to recognize we have to solve the problem because the economic data right now is not showing the degree of strain. But as Andrew mentions, in 4 weeks' time, you're going to start to see it come to light. I think you're going to start to see some deals announced, and I think you are going to see China cave on some of this.
Andrew, I call that the spring swimsuit phenomenon. I did not know how much weight I had put on until I tried to put on a pair of shorts when the weather changed, and it turns out that I had been fat for quite a while and wasn't understanding the problem. But now I do, painfully so. Is that going to be the same thing? Is that a month from now, things are going to start to hit, and they will be a function of what's happened the last 3 weeks, but there'll be a different state of play then, but that's when the pain comes home to roost?
There is a lag time on the data for sure, but the fact is a lot of these decisions can't quickly be undone. You can't necessarily bring all the workers back, bring all the suppliers back. This pain is going to ripple through the economy. This is the first recession that you can pin on the decisions of one person, and that's President Trump.
Andrew Yang, I appreciate you. I don't like getting ahead of it. Alexis, thank you for coming on. I know you've been very busy. I've been watching you everywhere. Thank you for giving us time at NewsNation. I couldn't ask for anybody better than you two.
Amazing to see you.
We'll keep talking about it. We'll keep talking about it, and we'll see what happens next. I don't want to get ahead out of it because we should all want this to succeed. What bothers me is people not wanting this to go well in terms of the deals. I want us to get better deals. I want the working class to finally get some attention.
For sure.
Right. So, you know, I want it to succeed. I take no joy
100%.
at any of this. So let's see what happens, and you guys can explain it to me. 4 minutes and 15 seconds. I'll see you soon. In the break, rest, relax. When we come back, they're getting close to the actual pool that will be winnowed down into the 12 jurors for Sean Diddy Combs and, of course, the alternates, okay? They're making progress, but what's really interesting is what is being revealed about how each side sees what will make or break this case. And my lawyer, who is also Diddy's longtime attorney, but not officially part of the team, Mark Garagos, I think he was treated unfairly today. And he's going to be fine because the law's on his side, but I want to discuss it with a better mind and Misty Maris next. All right, day 2 of jury selection in the trial of Sean Diddy Combs. Who made the cut and why is Diddy's longtime lawyer and my lawyer, Mark Garagos, being held to a different standard than all these other satellite attorneys that are in the mix? Let's talk to trial attorney Misty Maris. What I think is interesting, Misty, from your note, thank you very much for schooling me on the process, but it is clear that each side has a set of concerns that they want to run past these prospective jurors. What are they?
So, Chris, it's clear that the concern isn't have you heard of the case, even have you seen that Cassie tape. It's whether or not an opinion has been formulated about the case and about what they saw on that tape. So let's talk about some of the jurors that actually are still in the jury pool. First, the prosecution wanted to eliminate a juror who said that he had negative experiences with police officers. Now, the defense said, no, he should remain in the jury pool. He still remains, but let's see what happens when you get to your preemptory strikes. In the defense, there was a juror who said that he saw the tape, but that Diddy looked angry and entitled. Now, that really feeds right into the prosecution's narrative. So the defense wanted to get rid of that juror. Judge said no, still in the pool. But these are the issues that we know both the prosecution and defense are looking at when they go in and they start doing the gamesmanship of the preemptory strikes and really getting down to that 12-person, 6-alternate jury.
I am completely not objective when it comes to Garagos. He's a mentor to me in the business, but also he's been protecting my family. But here's what I don't get about it. So the allegation is you're talking to the defense and you're talking about the case on the podcast. You shouldn't be able to do that. But look at who's sitting behind the prosecution table. You have all of these big-name lawyers and some that some won't know who are representing different people. And you don't think they're talking to the prosecution? Seems like a double standard.
Yeah, so this rule 23.1, a local Southern District, New York rule, which says that you can't make extrajudicial statements, and it extends to the defense. And Chris, you're not the only one. Mark Garagos isn't the only one that takes issue with this. Really, many people say it's overreach. It serves to actually gag the defense from speaking about the evidence in the public sphere. So a lot of people take issue. As far as Mark is concerned, he's not the attorney of record. I'm not aware of a rule that extends this to friends and family. And also, just because he represented Diddy in the past doesn't mean that he's involved in the defense as of now. But I saw the report. It said that he went into chambers, Mark Geragos, with the judge, came out with a smile on his face. So it doesn't seem like any admonishment took place. But I guess we'll see what's on the docket.
Well, and look, he doesn't fake the funk. If he didn't like what happened in the room, you'd see it on his face.
Absolutely.
But I thought that was unfair, but I'm biased. Misty Maris, thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Thanks,
We'll
Chris.
be right back. I'll explain that beeping when I come back. The beeping is my app for the firehouse. And I don't know how to turn off the notifications, and I'm afraid of missing a call. Not that I can go when I'm on television, but that's what the beeping is. I'll figure it out. What I can't figure out is, I get why people are upset that I am going after Senator Kennedy, which isn't personal. I'm happy to have him on the show. I just don't like what he did tonight. I think it's coming from a position of weakness, frankly, and I think it's failing his constituency in his office, to be honest. What I don't understand is, why are you upset that I want the president to succeed? You don't want the majority of this country to benefit more than it is right now from the balance of benefit and burden that comes with our economy? I do. I mean, I'm an American, not an American. Leland Vittert is an American, all caps, right now.
All caps, with an exclamation point. To your point, Cuomo, it seems like there's a lot of people, dare I say Democrats, who are rooting for a recession.
Yes. Why? We know why. The best way to win is to make the other side lose. And we are addicted to grievance and which side is worse. And it's hard to be an optimist these days. But
Well, that's
it's
why we have you.
always best for us.
that's why
It's all I got left. You see those pictures of me from 2019 when I interviewed that air traffic controller? I look like you. Now look at me. I'm like the after picture.
The after picture, 5 years later. I would go one more with you, though, and that is that if the other side loses, you don't have to have good ideas. You don't have to be for anything.
That's exactly right. Opposition is a legit position. Vote for me. I'll stop Leland. It's like
you know, and everybody can do that with the remote controls right now. We invite you not to. Be better than the divisive politics and TV viewership we have right now. Stay with us. Cuomo, good to see you.